What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from Exotic Astrology. Today we will discuss on another very important concept on the basics of astrology, and today's topic is one of the most important topics apart from conjunctions and different videos which I have discussed so far. If you have not watched, go and watch them, otherwise you may not understand what I am talking here. It may appear alien to you. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to it, and if you like this video, click the thumbs up and watch it till the end. And if you have any questions, queries or comments related to any other video in my channel, then please let me know in the comments, or any other video that you want me to make, then also let me know in the comments. There you go. Dispositor and dispositor. It is very important to discuss about dispositors. What is a dispositor? Who disposits where, whom, how? And as usual, before beginning, I always say, God is there with you all the time. Just look to Him and He will help you find the right dispositors. Well, what is a dispositor? Dispositor is the concept in astrology which tells us where the lord of a particular planet, the sign where it is sitting, where is that planet sitting? You didn't understand? I will explain it to you. For example, in any horoscope, if moon is sitting in the sign of Cancer, bad example, this will confuse you. If moon is sitting in the sign of Taurus, then who is the sign lord of Taurus? Jupiter, right? No, it's Venus. See, I'm confusing you. I'm in the full mood of confusion today. I will keep confusing you in between to test you how much you know. All right. Now, suppose moon is sitting in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus, as we all know, is the original second house of the zodiac belt, which is ruled by the planet Venus, the planet of love, romance, beauty, sexuality, etc. Therefore, Venus is the dispositor of moon. What if Jupiter is sitting in the sign of Scorpio? Then who is the dispositor of Jupiter? It is the planet Mars, because Scorpio is ruled by Mars. There you go. Now do you understand what is the meaning of dispositor? It is very important that when we are continuing our analysis of the horoscope of particular planets and conjunctions and aspects, we also see what is the situation of their dispositor. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand what exactly is happening. Yes, let me give you an example. Suppose Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. All right, but if Jupiter, who is the dispositor of Venus, because Jupiter rules the sign of Pisces, is debilitated in the sign of Capricorn, then I will tell you what will happen. See, what is the meaning of an exalted Venus? I will discuss about exaltations of planets and what is the meaning of their secrets actually some other time. But here, generally, an exalted Venus means that the person, whenever it comes to love, romance and relationships, is very selfless, is very much devoted, is very much giving, is very much forgiving. All the benevolent traits are there in the person, because Pisces is the sign of abundance. The person lets the other person free. He or she doesn't try to control the person. Now, these are typical traits of an exalted Venus. Venus exalted also means that the person might not get fulfillment of marriage and relationships through the physical comforts, through sexuality, through physical intimacy, through staying together with the spouse, because from Mool Trikon sign of Venus, which is Libra, Pisces comes in the 6th house. I have discussed about this in one of my recent videos, so please go and watch it. That means Venus exalted is an indication that you have performed many good deeds related to Venus, women, or about luxuries, donating things related to Venus. And in this life, you will have to pursue the spiritual path. That doesn't mean you have to follow celibacy or you have to not marry. It simply means that apart from your marital duties, you also have to seek divine wisdom in God, because there is where you will find fulfillment. Whichever sign a planet is sitting, it finds fulfillment there. Yes, that's the secret of planets, right? So that's why the problem with debilitation is, if moon is sitting in the sign of Scorpio, it is debilitated, but the person finds lot of fulfillment from Scorpio traits. That is what unpredictable behavior, number one trait, etc. So now if Venus is exalted, but suppose Jupiter, the dispositor of Venus, is not in a great dignity, suppose it is in a sign like Capricorn or Aquarius or Virgo. To be honest, I have seen worse results in Capricorn and Aquarius. Even Aquarius is more worse for Jupiter, because Capricorn gives you obsession regarding work. It tells you that God doesn't exist. You can do whatever you want by your actions. By your hands, you can change your destiny. You don't need God. That is why Jupiter is debilitated in the sign of Capricorn. Jupiter in Capricorn people are too much hopeful about this material world. They think that they can achieve anything without the acknowledgement of the supreme authority, because Capricorn is the sign of karma. Yes, therefore Capricorn is the debilitation of Jupiter, and along with that, Aquarius has co-rulership of Rahu along with Saturn, which is actually even worse, because Aquarius is an air sign, which is all about enjoyment, mundane enjoyment, and it is ruled by Rahu. So these people are too skeptical. So if Venus is exalted, that means the person has the capacity within himself or herself to find fulfillment in spirituality through Venus. But if Jupiter is debilitated, which means the dispositor of Venus is not very well placed, then what will happen is, when they try to go towards spirituality, they will encounter difficulties. Especially if Jupiter is in the sign of Aquarius, the person will encounter doubts, because Rahu signifies doubts. Yes. Now let's take the opposite side. If Jupiter is in the sign of Capricorn, then it is considered to be debilitated. Yes. And what if Saturn? Why Saturn? Because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and then Saturn becomes the dispositor of Jupiter. So now if Saturn is placed in its exaltation in the sign of Libra, then what? Then Jupiter is still better there, because the person will at least be able to work. Jupiter is better doesn't mean that Jupiter on a spiritual sense it is better, but at least the person can do some spiritual activities by which he can understand that God exists, or maybe there's some spiritual wisdom, because the sign where Jupiter is sitting, that is in its highest dignity. Do you understand? But that doesn't mean Jupiter has become exalted or Jupiter's dignity has risen very much, because Jupiter is ultimately debilitated. Jupiter's effect in Capricorn will not be altered even if Saturn is exalted. Do you understand? People say, okay, if the dispositor of an debilitated planet is exalted, then the debilitation of that planet in that sign is cancelled. No, that's not true. Well, if that would be true, then things would be different, but that is not true. There is a concept of Neech Bhang Raj Yoga. That's a different concept. What I am saying here, just because Venus is in Pisces and Jupiter is if Venus is in Virgo, where it's debilitated, and suppose Mercury is in a good place, that does not mean that the debility of Venus is cancelled, but it simply means that the area of Virgo is now a bit strong. Area of Virgo means Mercury is strong in the chart. Therefore, Venus can relatively function better, because the house where it is sitting, that house is strong. Because you know how much a house is strong or weak by knowing the situation of the Lord. The Lord will tell you how the house is. For example, if 7th lord in any horoscope, which signifies marriage and the dimension of the marriage, if the 7th lord is very well placed, if it is exalted, or it is in a kendra or a trikon, or in a relatively good dignity in the kendra trikon, then what happens? Then the person has a higher capacity to maintain the marriage in a long term, even if there is a terrible planet like Mars which is sitting there in the 7th house. Even if Mars is sitting there, even if Saturn is sitting, even if Rahu, Ketu or Sun, any 5 of the malefics, if they are sitting in a house, especially in the 7th house, they cannot destroy the marriage unless the dispositor of the 7th house, that is the 7th lord, is also terribly spoiled, very badly spoiled. It's very badly afflicted. Because see what happens. If there are bad planets, bad in the sense, not bad, I would say bad for that chart, which means if the 6th lord is placed in the 7th house, or if the 8th lord is placed, or if the 12th lord is placed, these are considered difficult planets for that chart. So if bad planets for that horoscope, for that lagna, is sitting in the 7th house, then if the then how, what does it mean when a difficult planet is sitting there? See, 6th lord sitting in the 7th house, what it means? 6th house is the house of quarrel, disputes. It is the house of celibacy, it's the house of purity, it's the house of divorce, it's the house of courts, law, justice, all these enemies. Yes, that is the 6th house. So when that house ruler is sitting in the 7th house, what it means? Now the 6th lord has an agenda. Wherever it goes, see, just see it like that. Suppose there is a room, you go and unlock the room, and you open the door, and you see that there is a person sitting there. So here, if you go and open the 7th house, you see, okay, the 6th lord is sitting. What does it mean? It means that wherever the 6th lord is going, it is taking its agenda there. And what is its agenda? Its agenda is to give you quarrels and difficulties. That's the 6th house. Your prarabdha karma, that is 6th house. So then if it is sitting in the house of marriage, what does it mean? That the lord of quarrel is coming into the house of marriage. Do you understand? Because the moment you check the 7th house, you see, oh, there's a person sitting here. That means this person will always come and quarrel in that house, because wherever 6th lord goes, it will quarrel. Yes, that means when 6th lord is in the 7th house, there can be a lot of quarrels and arguments within the marriage. But suppose you are the 7th house, think like that, forget your lagna, forget 5th house, 9th house, forget all this. Suppose you are a person who is owning the 7th house. Suppose, for the time being, forget that you are the lagna, suppose you are the 7th house. Now if you are owning that house, all right, and you are in a good place, yes, if you are relatively in a good place, but suppose there's a terrible person sitting at your home, still he cannot do anything to your home unless you yourself become weak. Or if I would put it this way, your strength has to be more than the strength of that terrible planet which is sitting there. For example, if suppose say sun is sitting there in the 7th house in any horoscope, and then suppose sun is sitting in the sign of Taurus, for example, but then if Venus, that means you are a Scorpio ascendant, because for Scorpio ascendant, Taurus is in the which house? Taurus is in the 7th house. That means now sun is in the sign of Taurus, which is supposedly not a great planet to be in the 7th house, because it is a fiery planet. Fire extinguishes the water. Now suppose Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces for Scorpio ascendant in the 5th house, because for Scorpio, Pisces is in the 5th house, and Cancer is in the 9th house. It's the same sign in the Trikona. So now if Venus is exalted, that means what? The ability of that house to function is in the highest state. That means even if Sun is sitting there, there can be ego battles and ego tussles. But because the dispositor is strong, that means even if there is traits related to the Sun which is hampering the marriage, but the marriage will not break, it will sustain. Do you understand? Now let me give you another example. If suppose somebody has a beautiful planet, suppose exalted Venus in the 7th house. For example, suppose somebody is a Virgo ascendant and he has an exalted Venus, because for Virgo, Pisces is in the 7th house and Venus is also a natural benefic. So if there is an exalted Venus in the 7th house, but somehow Jupiter is not very well placed. Jupiter is debilitated in the sign of Capricorn. If Jupiter is debilitated in the sign of Capricorn, then what will happen? See, when you go to the 7th house, suppose you are the 7th house, now you are opening the door, you see, okay, somebody is sitting there. Who is sitting? Oh my God, exalted Venus is sitting. It will give me great things. But if you yourself are diseased, you are the Lord, you are the dispositor of the house. Suppose you yourself, you are diseased, you are coughing, you are about to die, or you are sitting with planets like Rahu or Ketu or any other fiery planet, then it is like saying you have $1 million home. $1 million home means now an exalted Venus is coming and beautifying your home. It is giving you so many things. It's giving you a lot of blessings. But if you as a person, you are dead. Dead means you are in a difficult sign or in a difficult house or with enemies. Then what will happen is, even if there is an exalted planet or a beautiful planet there in the 7th house, the marriage cannot sustain. Or sustain doesn't mean that there will be a divorce. It simply means that the difficulties which the person will encounter in executing his marital duties will be much more higher. Do you understand that? So having a difficult planet in the 7th house and having the 7th lord in a good dignity is better than having a beautiful planet in the 7th house and the 7th lord getting spoiled or smashed or ditched, as you call these days. And also that is true because ultimately you are what the house is, because the house belongs to you. If somebody dies, suppose there's a person who dies tomorrow, then what is the use of the property? Suppose there's a exalted moon sitting there. You are a Scorpio ascendant and there's an exalted moon in your 7th house, because for Scorpio, moon, Taurus is the 7th house. So if moon is there, it will be exalted. You may get, if it is a man's chart, then you may get a very beautiful wife. Exalted moon in the 7th house. Do not take this as a blind dictum, but I am just giving some standard dummy ideas to understand, so that you understand the concept of dispositors. But suppose you get a very beautiful wife, somebody like Lady Diana or Aishwarya Rai or Angelina Jolie. Suppose, I am just giving an example. But suppose Venus is debilitated, then what will happen is, you may have the best wife, the best loving wife, the most beautiful wife, the most caring, perhaps the best wife, but you will still not be able to stay with her, because your attitude towards the marriage is not correct. When the 7th lord is debilitated, that shows your capacity to sustain the relationship is in doldrums. So even if you get the best wife, it will be difficult. Now you take another example. Suppose there's a planet like Mars which is sitting there, which is considered to be Manglik dosha as per astrology. Forget all this Manglik and all these factors. I'll make a video on Manglik later. Suppose Mars is sitting. It is a planet of fire, Agni Tattva. So Agni has the power to burn off emotions. That is the problem. But Mars is sitting in the 7th house in any sign. Forget about the sign. But suppose the 7th Lord is exalted, or it is with friends, or in a great house like the 9th house or the 5th house. Then what will happen is there will be a lot of power struggles. You will say, no, I will do this. Then she will say, no, I want this. But because the 7th Lord is exalted, the dispositor of Mars is exalted, or it is in its own sign, or it is in Mool Trikon. Own sign means it has to sit in that house itself. Then what will happen? Mars will give its natural effects. You cannot evade that. You simply cannot evade that. But still the relationship may sustain, depending on the other factors, of course. Because your attitude towards the marriage now is, okay, whatever happens, I will not let this relationship go away. I will always try my best to keep this relationship. There you see. Therefore, the dispositor is very important to understand. Without that, we cannot make predictions. Because whenever we go to somebody's home, when a planet is in a particular house, suppose Jupiter is in the 9th house in the sign of Scorpio, suppose. Then, if the owner of the house is dead, owner means if Mars is dead, dead means it is in Cancer, in debility, or some other terrible sign. Maybe it is in the sign of Pisces also. Or maybe it is in the sign of Mercury especially. Mars is very difficult in signs of Mercury. Then what will happen? It is like you are going to your best friend's house. Jupiter exalted in the 9th house in Cancer. It means Jupiter is in the best possible dignity. You have gone to your best friend's house. It is such a great friend. No? It is such a great friend. Suppose Jupiter is exalted in the 9th house. Then you take the moon. Moon, because Cancer is ruled by moon. Then if moon is debilitated in Scorpio, then it is like you have gone to the house of a person who is dead. Then how much will you beautify the room? How much will you try to improve the situation of the room? It simply will not have much results. Therefore, whenever we take spiritual pursuits or we check the spiritual potential in a person, then the first thing we have to do is we have to check the position of the 9th Lord and the situation of Jupiter here, because that will tell us how the overall thing will happen. And also, planet sitting in the 9th house has the power to alter the results. Suppose 9th house has great planets and the 9th Lord is also greatly placed, fabulous, mind-blowing. This is perhaps the best thing that can happen, because then the person will get spiritual merits and his attitude will also be very good. Otherwise, if bad planets are there, then and the Lord is exalted, then his attitude may be very good, but he will find a lot of challenges. And what if the reverse is happening? There are beautiful planets, but the Lord is debilitated. Beautiful planets means they will give you opportunities, but if the Lord is debilitated, you will not be able to use those opportunities. So there you go. Dispositor is very important. Therefore, whenever you check the situation of marriage, etc., do not just see planet sitting in the 7th house. Check the situation of the 7th Lord and also check the situation of the dispositor of the 7th Lord. For example, if somebody is a Libra ascendant, then Mars rules the 7th house. And if Mars is in the 11th house in the sign of Leo, we also have to check the situation of the Sun, because that will also tell how much strong Mars is inherently. To the degree Mars is strong, to that degree the 7th house will be strong. There you see, that is how you have to see. And that gets very detailed. What will happen if this is badly placed or that is badly placed? We have to see the entire horoscope. So that is what I wanted to tell about dispositors, and it is very important that we take into account the dispositors. Otherwise, if we just give a prediction that, oh, there are difficult planets in your fourth house, then your mother will have a difficult life. But what if she's having a great life? Great life doesn't mean without struggles, without challenges, but what if the fourth lord is well placed? That means even if there are difficulties, the mother will be able to carry on through all the difficulties. But if there are beautiful planets, suppose moon or Venus is situated there, and the lord of that sign, which means the fourth lord, is debilitated, then what will happen? The mother may have many opportunities in life, but she will misuse and she will waste all the opportunities, and that happens with so many people. So you will always find people who misuse opportunities even if they have, and you will also find people who, even if they don't have opportunities, they will struggle and they will cross over all the difficulties. So now you understand why both of this happens. There you go. Thank you very much for listening till the end, and if you have any questions, queries or comments regarding dispositors, then please let me know in the comment section. And if you're new to the channel, then subscribe to it, and if you like this video, click the thumbs up, and please check the situation of dispositor of every planet. Check the dispositor of Saturn also. Check the dispositor of Mars. Check the dispositor of the Sun. That will give you idea of what flavor is there in the horoscope. Otherwise, you will just give blind predictions. Okay, Venus is debilitated, my god, difficult relationships. Yeah, the difficulty will be there, but will relationships never improve? No, that will be dependent on the situation of Mercury, and what are also other supportive influences to Venus. If Venus is placed with planets like Jupiter, things can be much great even if it is debilitated. Okay, that is it from my side. See you next time. Bye bye.